The Canon Leadership Program is delighted to be partnering with the A. Wade Smith Memorial Lecture to host and to coordinate the student session. The A. Wade Smith Lecture has been around a number of years, bringing renowned thinkers, public intellectuals who are dealing, or their expertise is related to some aspect of how race and culture intertwines within the United States of America, its impact upon relationships, economy, politically, gender type issues, how that interfaces here within the United States of America, and even in some cases dealing with global and international issues, immigration being one of them. The lecture was created after A. Wade Smith passed away, who was a professor in the sociology department, and the university wanted to recognize his intellectual and service contributions here to the university. And so we were able to create this university lecture series. The evening lecture will be tonight at 7 p.m. We hope that you will join us again to hear Dr. Malveaux talk about a different topic right across the way in the Arizona room. But it's always had a dual capacity. There's been a student session, which is a chance for our guests to sort of speak, to introduce the topic, to give a bit of substance and depth to that, but more importantly, to then open it up and give you all, as students, a chance to ask questions, to dig a little bit deeper in some of the topics that were raised, to connect some of the context of the conversation to your own personal experiences, and then to grapple with that a bit, given the wonderful opportunity of someone who does such profound work around culture and economy, to give you a chance to grapple with some of the topics you've had. So, the Canon Leadership Program is a national program where we bring in speakers on a monthly basis, but also has a work group component. And this here is a manifestation, along with the committee, of the work group experience. So we have about 4 or 5 students who are working to put this event together in some of the promotional aspect, some of the logistical supports, because we realize leadership is more than just high concepts. It's more than just sort of fame and notoriety. It's more than just managing mass amounts of people. In fact, one would say that that is sort of an outcome or a destiny for leaders who are ultra successful at what they do. But regardless of leaders, when you think of them, whatever comes to mind, they all had a beginning. And that beginning was very, very simple. It was very on the ground, dealing with basic things from room reservations, phone calls, meeting minutes, developing agendas, recruiting, coaxing people, consensus building, decision making, all those nuances that when you pile them up together and how effective a person is, translates into a core leadership skills. So if you all can join me in a round of applause for the Canon Student Leadership Work Group that put this together, please do that. All right, and part of leadership development is public speaking, is getting in front of a microphone. So I want to introduce Lena Arkawi, who's going to introduce Dr. Malveaux. Lena is a senior student here, a dynamic student in the Canon Leadership Program. She's has 2 degrees that she's working towards, both business and communication. But more importantly, she's the first to arrive, the first to volunteer, and is an exemplary student as it comes to what the Canon Leadership Program is producing. Fellow students, please welcome to the microphone, Lena Arkawi.
Thank you, Alonzo. Hello. Dr. Julianne Malveaux is the president of the Bennett College for Women. She's a renowned writer, commentator, economist, and leading businesswoman. She has been widely acknowledged for her progressive, insightful views in race, culture, gender, economic issues. Dr. Malveaux has written in columns which have appeared in USA Today, Black Issues in Higher Education, Miss Magazine, Essence, and The Progressive. She's been a guest on a variety of networks like CNN, ABC, Fox, and MSNBC. Dr. Malveaux is an extraordinary leading woman who is highly educated and respected for her contributions in higher education and global affairs. Here today to discuss with us unfinished business, the top 10 issues your generation faces, Dr. Julianne Malveaux.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm going to talk for a minute before I go to my assigned topic about leadership. Because if you Google leadership, you'll get, I don't know how many million, I've done it before, I didn't do it today, but you'll get millions of entries about leadership. Just about everyone has a leadership program of some kind. We have a leadership program on my campus. Most campuses have something. But what's really the essence of this thing called leadership? What do you think about when you think about leadership? As Alonzo has said, it's not about just standing in front of folks. It's not about being the president of an organization, about leading a college. Because you just don't drop in the sky and become a president of an organization. Things happen along the way. The most important leadership that I tell folks always is self-mastery. It's self-leadership. When you are able to direct and control yourself, you place yourself in a position to motivate others. And leadership really is not about telling people what to do. It's about allowing people to find inside themselves what their highest and best is. It's to recognize what other people's highest and best. Because there's a line my pastor uses all the time that I now use every day on my campus. Teamwork makes the dream work. Which means you really can't get the work done unless you understand that it's not about you. It's about everyone in the room. My flippant leadership story is this. If you think you're leading, look back, nobody's following, you're not leading, you're tripping. I'm the leader, but the leader of what? And so you're just really taking a long walk and nobody's there. And so one of my favorite topics to talk about, and it's not my opportunity today to have something else, but is leadership. I think it's so important. Young people, especially young people of color, but for all young people to identify direction and to take time to study leadership. And by study leadership, I really mean study yourself. The most important thing you can do is to know yourself. You know yourself. When you know yourself, you know what your buttons are, and you know how to cover them up so other people can't push them. You see people in public lose their tempers. Why do they lose their temper? Because they had buttons and somebody pushed them. Some of the buttons might be buttons that we think, well, I'm not going to let them go there, i.e. race and gender. But sometimes we have to realize that you got to suck it up. I'll tell you a funny story about me. I went to the Center for Creative Leadership. They have something called Leadership at the Peak. You have to be a CEO, or you have to lead at least 1,000 people in order to be in this program. There were 9 of us. I was the only person of color. There were 3 women. It was 5 days from 7 in the morning until 10 or 11 at night. It was really great. There was a lot of very rich learning. There were 2 Army generals. It was very rich, and I enjoyed most of it. Now, I am not the most physically fit person. I'm pretty fit, but I was the slowest person for everything. They went mountain climbing. Now, I'm an urban soul. So mountain climbing kind of like not my thing. I did mountain climbing one day. The next day I said, I don't think there was pace. No, so I don't want to fall. So that there were various, and again, knowing yourself. But they had this physical exercise. It was kind of like a wilderness thing. We had to climb down this wall. Well, I have a spatial disorder. I was hit on the head. No, I really do. I was hit on the head about 4 years ago with a metal bar in an industrial accident. And so my balance is like about 90%, not 100%. So I will not be climbing down walls with pulleys on them, forgive me. But the day that they had this exercise, I came outside and there was literally a noose on a tree. Now it was the pulley, but it looked like a noose. And the cultural sensitivity around here is a little interesting. You do not have nooses and black people in the same place. I mean, it just is not going to turn out right. I mean, I sat there and said, is that a noose? And I said, okay, no. Hold it in. I mean, maybe they didn't need it. I walked up to the trainer and I said, dude, that appears to be a noose. I said, I tend to overreact, but it appears to be a noose to me. He said, oh, it's a pulley. I said, but the pulley looks like a noose. And he said, well, don't worry about it. I said, okay, I didn't come here to, be Baby Shark. I came here essentially to learn about leadership. So, for a minute. But then the exercise involved at some point trying to get something. So we climbed down the thing, and then we had to go over someplace and move a very large person across a hypothetical pond. And all we had was the pulleys and stuff. And this little French brother kept saying, hang him, hang him. I'm like, okay. So I counted to about, at some point I felt like someone was knifing me in the stomach. I mean, like, hang him, hang him. And I kept saying, well, he's French. He doesn't know any better. But finally, when they did the decompose, and I said, okay, I'm not going to make an issue of it. First of all, I'm the most physically unfit person here, so I'm really not contributing. But anyway, when we finally did the debrief, I said, okay, y'all are about to have a black moment. And I said, what is that? I said, do you know the history of lynching? Do you know how many people were hung in America? It was like 4,700, and they were not all black people. Some of them were Jewish people. Some of them were labor organizers. There's another way I could have done this. I do have a temper. And I could have gone off, but to me it was like, okay, just wait till the end of the day and deal with that. And it was a day, what would have happened had I gone off earlier? Okay, this is just an angry black woman. She's just an angry black, so I just waited, and then I gave them their little Black History lecture. And the next day I had to give